You're watching Plain Speak with me, Poonam Burde. We're coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions. 24 hours before America's secondary tariffs for India will kick in, the Trump administration has notified additional 25% tariff on Indian products as penalty for continued purchase of Russian oil. In fact, the draft notification that was put out yesterday said that these higher levies were being imposed due to what the US calls as threats to the United States by the government of the Russian Federation. So India, it seems, is just collateral damage in this war between Donald Trump and President Putin, in an attempt that Donald Trump and the US administration wants to make to bring peace in Ukraine. But the cost of being that collateral damage is going to be high for India. This whopping 50% tariff could hurt about 55% of India's merchandise exports to the United States. Those could be worth $87 billion. So how does India offset that impact then? There is a message that the Prime Minister sent out today, and that is going to be our top focus here on Plain Speak this evening. The message of self-reliance, that message of looking at alternatives and that realignment that the Prime Minister is looking at, that is something that we will explore right on top of the show. In the second half, we'll look at the Dharmasthala hoax, this temple town in Karnataka, and why it's mired in controversy. Where is there a conspiracy to malign, and if there is, who's behind that? And later on the show, we will explore what's been transpiring in Jammu and Kashmir and in Himachal as monsoon fury there rages. But first up, let's talk about these American tariffs that will kick in tomorrow. Let's take a look at the sectors that are expected to be impacted by these 50% tariffs. The US administration says, like I said, that these additional 25% is punishment. It's penalty on India for buying Russian oil, even though New Delhi has made it clear that we will buy oil from wherever we get the best deal. So here are the sectors that could be impacted when those tariffs kick in tomorrow. The gems and jewelry sector, that's vulnerable to increased tariffs. The apparel and textile sector is also going to be hit. That forms a large chunk of India's exports to the United States. Shrimp prices dropped since the tariff announcement as well. That's another sector that could be facing an impact. Once those tariffs kick in tomorrow, those prices are expected to decrease further. Organic chemicals, that sector too faces a significant impact of this tariff. Carpet exports from India to the United States, that's something that could take a hit as well, because that is now going to get more expensive. But for now, there is some relief coming in for certain sectors. These are the sectors that are exempt, at least for now, from the 50% tariff pinch. Iron and steel is one of them, aluminum and copper, passenger vehicles, light trucks, most importantly, auto components, that's exempt from this 50% tariff for now. The pharmaceutical sector as well, for now, is shielded. But remember, Donald Trump in the past has threatened to take the tariffs up to 200%. Electronics, as far as chips, mobile phones, tablets, all of that so far remains shielded from these penalties, from these secondary tariffs that the United States has decided to levy. So how exactly does India then try and offset the impact of these tariffs? Well, Prime Minister Modi today furthered the Atmanirbhar Bharat pitch, as he said that the government is aware that these rare earth materials shortage is something that India faces, and a big attempt was being made to address it with the critical minerals mission. This is important, and this is a message that is being sent out by New Delhi to Washington, that there is an alternative path that New Delhi is looking at. The Prime Minister said that there is going to be a launch of exploration mission soon, and that exploration for these rare or critical minerals will be done at more than 1,200 sites. These minerals are a backbone of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, he said, the commitment to net zero emissions by 2070. Now, these rare minerals are important, and they're rare for a reason. They power your EV batteries, they power wind turbines, solar panels, semiconductors. Now, India is looking to try and not only manufacture these internally, but or get a better deal when it comes to getting them into India. Equipment like radar and precision-guided missiles is also what relies on these rare earth minerals. The motto really of New Delhi and of the Prime Minister is to try and look at alternatives, like I said, to try and offset this tariff pinch, which is why the Prime Minister today made this Swadeshi mantra. He's also spoke about self-reliance. So is that really the answer then to the bullying that we are seeing from President Trump?
आत्मनिर्भर भारत के अभियान को हम सब आगे बढ़ाएं, वोकल फॉर लोकल बने, स्वदेशी ये हमारा जीवन मंत्र बनना चाहिए दोस्तों। गर्व से स्वदेशी की तरफ चल पड़ो। भारत सरकार ऑटो इंडस्ट्री के लिए रेयर अर्थ मैग्नेट की शॉर्टेज से जुड़ी कठिनाइयों के प्रति भी सजग है। इस दिशा में देश के सामर्थ्य को बढ़ाने के लिए हमने नेशनल क्रिटिकल मिनरल मिशन भी लॉन्च किया है। आज भारत की मेक इन इंडिया इस यात्रा में एक नया अध्याय जुड़ रहा है। आज से भारत में बने इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स 100 देशों को एक्सपोर्ट किए जाएंगे।
Joining us on this broadcast, on this special edition of Plain Speak, is Arun Singh, former Indian ambassador to the United States. Ambassador Singh, thank you so much for speaking with us here. You know, my first question I want to ask you, it seems like India is caught in the middle because the Trump administration feels that they can squeeze India to try and get Russia on board and end the Ukraine war. India, it seems, is just collateral damage for the United States. Would you agree with that sort of analysis?
No, you're absolutely right. I think Donald Trump is coming under some criticism in the US because he had projected that within 24 hours of his coming to power, the Russia-Ukraine war will come to an end, or that it would not have happened if he had been president. He also met President Putin recently. But from all reports, the prospect of an early end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict do not seem to be there. So he's come under some criticism domestically. Also, he has not taken any additional actions against Russia since becoming president. So again, he's been criticized that you criticize Ukraine, you've withdrawn aid from Ukraine, but you have not taken any action against Russia. He doesn't want to take action against Russia because he wants to maintain his outreach to Russia to see if he can get Russia to move in terms of the steps towards peace in the conflict. Now, China buys more oil from Russia than India does. But he's not in a position to take more action against China because China has shown countervailing power. When he raised tariffs to more than 100%, Chinese did the same, and the US bond market got destabilized. And so he did a 90-day pause. When he did export controls on China, the Chinese did export controls on critical materials and rare earths. So now they're getting into a dialogue on easing export controls from both sides. So he feels he's in no position to take additional steps against China. Now, the Europeans, they are buying overall more from Russia than India is. Turkey is buying a very significant part of Russia's petrochemical exports. So given all that, he felt he was not in a position to hit against any of the other buyers of produce from Russia. And since he was coming under criticism, he decided to make India, for the moment, collateral damage, dealing with his own domestic politics. Now, that's how it's playing out. But there'll be consequences in the sense that, for the last 25 years, governments in both countries have made a very determined effort to improve the relationship. Before that, the US was seen as a coercive, unreliable partner. Gradually, they were coming out of that image. Now, once he has taken this kind of action, it has resurrected in India the sense that the US is a coercive and unreliable partner. So at some stage, when we come out of the present situation, which we will, because the relationship is important for both countries. At that stage, when people are reconstructing the relationship, they will keep in mind that US has once again shown itself to be a coercive and unreliable partner and therefore hedge even more as you deepen the partnership with the US. So that's the damage that the US and President Trump have done through their action on the US-India relationship. So
but is that damage irreparable? Or, Donald Trump is here for another 4 years or a little over 4 years, but the relationship that the two countries share have gone back decades and will continue to go so in the future as well. So then where does that leave ties between the two countries?
No, absolutely. And the United States is much more than Donald Trump. So right now, Donald Trump is setting the priorities and all the action that is being taken. But, he's already coming under criticism for what he's doing with India. But even when there is a change, and as you start reconstructing the relationship, people will remember that US has shown itself once again after a 25-year gap to be a coercive and unreliable partner. So keep that in mind as you build for the future. So there will, if you look at it, for example, US is trying to do a trade deal with China. You can't rule out that they will do a trade deal with China. But even if they do it, US has absorbed that their main economic, technological, and military rival is China. And they have said that China is the only country with the intent and capability to replace the US in the international system. Now, US wants to maintain its number one position globally. For that, they believe that the technology partnership with India will be important for the US to maintain their global lead in innovation. There are 1,700 global capability centers in India doing cutting-edge R&D and technology development work for the global operations of multinational companies. 20% of the global talent in semiconductor design is in India. So US recognizes this. They will also need to rebuild the relationship. So I think we just have to, be patient, be firm in terms of what are our red lines, and continue the negotiation with the US. Because, if you saw recently, Secretary Rubio, when he announced the appointment of the new US ambassador to India, in the appointment he has said that India is one of the most important partnerships for the US, despite whatever is happening now. So I think they have to also absorb this and slightly change the approach they are taking at the moment.
Just yesterday, in fact, Donald Trump, for all the domestic pressure that he must be feeling, there's also pressure and criticism that's coming to the fore that India is being singled out. And in the light of that, we had the US president yesterday threaten 200% tariffs on China. But many believe that this will only stop at the level of a threat and not exactly what happened with India, because the United States realizes how much it needs China. Now, in case India wants to look at alternatives, can the US be replaced with any other alternative? Can India diversify into any other markets that we will entirely reduce our dependence, or to perhaps make it minimal or nil as far as the United States goes?
No, that doesn't make sense. I mean, US will remain an essential partner. It's still the leading economy globally. In terms of purchasing power parity, maybe China is in the lead, but in terms of price-based gross domestic product, US is the largest economy, it's the largest consumer market. If you look at India's technology partnerships, most of them are of the US. If you look at the IT sector, it generates 10% of our GDP. Bulk of our production is exported, and bulk of our exports go to the United States. So the US will remain an essential and important partner. India will also remain an important partner for the US. There is at the moment a challenge that has been introduced in the relationship. I'm confident that we will come out of this. But the point I'm making is when we are resurrecting it at that stage, you cannot, walk away from the US relationship. We have to build on that. It's again the largest single country presence of Indian origin diaspora. Largest single country presence of Indian students going to universities abroad, more than 300,000. In terms of technology partnerships, the kind of civilian technologies that we are partnering with the US, you are not getting from any other country. You won't get civilian technology from Russia. You get defense technology. China has put restrictions on technology transfer to India. So it will remain an essential partner. But in the future, I believe at least for some time, even as we deepen with the US, there will be much more of hedging that will be brought into play.
And the kind of relationship that we have with the United States from here on will also depend on how the new ambassador of the United States to India is going to help in repairing or not repairing that sort of relationship. The fact that he's not an ambassador just to India, the fact that he's an envoy for South and Central Asian affairs, do you think that's also a bit problematic in the sense that the Trump administration has been trying to put India and Pakistan on the same platform, trying to hyphenate us, and this may be just another attempt to do that?
Well, look, you shouldn't overplay the role that an ambassador can play. I know he's there. He's after all representing his government. He'll be representing the president. There's a limit to what an ambassador can do, and we've had several ambassadors from different countries, including the US, from the past. And I think India's position has been very firm that we don't accept any third-party role in any of our bilateral issues. So he has to also work out. He has to, when he's defining his role in India, has to work it out in a way that his credibility in India is not negatively impacted. Because he has to have access to high-level interlocutors in India. Whatever may be his other role, his primary responsibility is in India. And so he has to maintain that access and credibility. So he also will have to be mindful of that.
And he does come to India at a difficult time, at least as far as ties or trade ties between the two countries are concerned. But I have to leave it there. Ambassador Singh, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Plain Speak.
Thank you.
But how does India really offset this kind of impact that some of our sectors are going to feel, because those tariffs are going to kick in tomorrow? That notification is already out. Ashok Sajanhar, former diplomat, joins us on this broadcast. Ajay Dua, former Commerce Secretary, is with us. Sunil Alagh, market strategist and managing director of SK Advisors, is with us as well. Mr. Dua, let me begin by asking you, today the Prime Minister spoke about looking at alternatives, looking at this critical minerals that we're trying to explore. Why that is extremely important is especially for the electronics industry. That's something that India is trying to now push forth with to try and offset some of the impact that these tariffs would have. Do you think that that's the right way forward? That could be a solution, maybe not short term, but maybe in the long term?
Thank you, Poonam, for having me. I think the way the Prime Minister has conveyed the message, it shows that we will need to have certain critical raw materials available to us if we have to be able to offset the exports which we might lose because of the new restrictions imposed by President Trump. And the critical raw materials, particularly the 7 which were recently identified by China and licensing conditions put on those, which go for magnet making, broadly speaking, but which get used in high technology items like missiles, as well as some high technology items, more computer based and wind energy, etc. So we do certainly need such raw materials, critical raw materials, and I think our kind of the thaw which we are developing with China might help us to offset some of the losses which we will incur. An estimate put today is that our exports to the US, because of this 50% tariff, 25 plus 25, might cause $20 to $25 billion of our exports loss. That means out of $85 billion, we might end up at about $60 odd billion. So we certainly do need to find alternative ways, and making sure where the choking points today are for building up the exports is absolutely necessary. And that's what the Prime Minister referred to when he said that for some Make in India program to take off, as well as finding alternate markets for our goods, critical raw materials which are there in that, the critical minerals have been identified.
So that's one aspect of it, Sunil Alagh. But tomorrow, when those tariffs do kick in about 24 hours from now, there are going to be some sectors that are going to be feeling the heat. How do we look at offsetting that particular impact, at least in the short term? Is diversifying markets one thing that India could look at? What is it that India could actually do?
See, whatever we want to diversify into markets in all 3 or 4 months is going to take, we have to feel the heat. There's no question of what Mr. Dua has said or what Mr. Sajanagar is going to say in future. But I'm just saying that, look, we have to tighten our belts for the first 4 months. And no matter what the Prime Minister is trying to do in terms of diversify into markets and everything else, it will take about 4 months, 5 months to do it. And therefore, for 4 or 5 months, we must tighten our belts. The private sector today is Hindustan Levers, and they are relying on the consumption pattern in India. And therefore, if in India is a big market where everything that the Prime Minister is trying to do now is that, look, how does he increase consumption in India? How do all these companies move forward in India itself? For 3 or 4 months, when Trump is going to do a deal, he's putting pressure on India through, actually, he's aiming at Russia and China, but he's put pressure on India. And finally, ultimately, we have to think of Russia as our partner, which has been our partner throughout and has never, ever wavered. America has wavered back and forth from Nixon days to now. They've kept Pakistan going, they've kept India going. But for Atmanirbhar, whatever the Prime Minister is saying for 4 months, we have to tighten our belt. And therefore, we need to do it. And therefore, we must do it. There's no question about it. But the what will happen in after 4 months or 5 months in the short run, 4 months, we'll have to tighten our belts. 5 months, 6 months, if we build up our own exports, we build our diversify into different markets, next year will be slightly different, completely different.
But do you feel that this could actually have an impact on our markets as well? I mean, so far they've absorbed the shock pretty well. Every time there was a threat or the first 25% kicked in, but come tomorrow or come day after, do you think the effect is going to be any different?
No, look, the markets have already built this in. Now, the fact that Trump is going to have a 25% on us plus Russian oil, India comes first as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. And therefore, if Russia gives oil cheaper, the Middle East gives oil cheaper, America gives oil cheaper, then we'll buy from all of them. We'll buy anybody that looks after India first. And therefore, we feel that, look, for the next 4 months, there is going to be some impact, but the markets have already built that in. And therefore, for 3 or 4 months, we have to tighten our belts, the private sector, the consumer, and the government. And the movement has to take place in not relying on America anymore.
Ashok Sajjanhar, is that possible? Is that possible for India to reduce its dependence on the United States, find alternatives? Or is United States too big a market, too big an ally, too important an ally to try and sideline it altogether?
Yeah, thank you very much, Shivani. So let's, separate these two. I think trade part is one part of the relationship, and the other strategic elements of the relationship, whether it's defense, it's technology, it's diaspora, it's geopolitics, that's different. So at the moment we are talking about trade. Trade is as a target as far as the US is concerned, and let's try to keep it separately. Although Mr. Trump, the manner in which he has gone about imposing 25% additional tariffs because India is buying oil from Russia, that is nothing to do with trade or tariffs. It is pure geopolitics. And he's targeting India. I would have a slight difference of opinion with Mr. Alag when he says that he's, trying to target China or Russia or something. It is targeting India because he feels that India is a weaker player, economic player, so it should succumb to his pressure. India is not succumbing to his pressure. Coming to your question, India has faced very many similar challenges from the United States in the past. 1998 is not all that far away. 1971 is not all that far away. 1998, we had the most stringent of tariffs that were imposed on us, but we managed to come out of that. And we were not as strong as we are today. At that time, we were the 15th or 16th largest economy in the world. Today, we are the 4th, getting on to be 3rd. More than $4 trillion economy. We have a huge domestic market. So I think our capacity and capability, Shivani, is much greater today than it has ever been in the past. Also, you look at, in addition to the domestic consumption, we have just signed a very ambitious deal with the United Kingdom. 99% of their market is free to us without tariffs, without non-tariff barriers. And we have from the Commerce Industry Minister that negotiations with the EU are also proceeding very well. So we can be quite hopeful. EU is a big market for India. So, as Mr. Dua has said, $20-25 billion, they come down. But we are looking at not only these two markets, EU and the United Kingdom. We've also signed recently a trade agreement with the UAE. UAE is our 4th largest trade partner. We are also having discussions with the GCC, with the Gulf Cooperation Council. We are also having discussions when Prime Minister was in Brazil and in South America, taking forward the free trade area with Mercosur also forward. So I think we have to put all these on a fast track, have a sense of confidence that we have been there in the past. We can get there through it quite well. As Mr. Alag has said, 4 months, 5 months, meaning what is 4 months, 5 months in the life of a nation? And I think the manner in which the Prime Minister has said both as far as our defense capabilities are concerned, our economic capabilities are concerned. Once we have those strengths, we will be able to project ourselves much more effectively, diplomatically also. And I think that is what we are doing. Shivani.
India is definitely asserting itself, Ajay Dua, and which is why it seems like those negotiations over a trade deal seem to be sort of in a frozen state. So do you believe that this broader trade deal, which we were looking at being signed by the end of this year, could that actually happen?
Anybody's guess. I think right now we are stuck in a situation, as you know, that our trade and as well as our trade deal are both linked to Russia's conduct vis-a-vis the Ukraine war. So we will have to wait and see if Russia's kind of slight belligerence shown post the Alaska summit is an indication Russia, the war may not end as soon as, very early. Having said that, I'd like to just deal with one other subject. Mr. Sajanar just talked about the so-called big and beautiful deal with the UK. Certainly, that can provide us a platform to have a similar deal with the United States, and we are probably already using it vis-a-vis the European Union, with whom also, or with it, the negotiations have been going on for the last 14 to 15 years. I think it started in 2010. And so the benefit of the agreement with the UK is not going to flow immediately. The agreement has been signed. Now it will go for ratification to the British Parliament, a process which can easily take 6 to 8 months time, and the effective date when the new agreement will come into effect will also be mentioned. It is likely that we do not see the agreement actually in motion for about a year and a half. That's been the practice. We have seen that when we signed the agreement with Japan or Korea, and how long did it take for agreements to get into action. So diversification, yes, but with a caveat that having these new agreements desirable in the medium term, long term, but in the short run, we have to be taking measures on our own. And that is where I like to emphasize that the first step of so-called next generation reforms seems to be the GST rationalization, and bringing down the GST is going to make a major effect on boosting the domestic economy. Estimate of State Bank of India, I guess it's a back of the envelope calculation, is that 2 trillion rupees more of demand will be created, so which is about 8% of the demand of the Indian households, increased by a large figure, by the government having to only.
So that just seems to be one step in the right direction as far as trying to offset the kind of impact that reduced exports would have. But Sunil, I want to ask you this, what's to say Donald Trump is going to stop at this? I mean, they're clearly using India for economic leverage against Russia. They've made that very clear. Doesn't look like there is peace happening anytime soon in Ukraine. So what's to say Trump is going to stop at 50%?
See, Trump is never going to stop because we don't know what he's going to do in 3 months. He's a person of deals. Every 3 months, he changes his mind. Therefore, we have to be patient, as Mr. Dua has said. And Mr. Sajanhar has talked about long term. Now, what we have talked about when we answered your question, when you asked me about 3-4 months, in the short term, we have to tighten our belts. And it's private consumption which will go forward. GST reform, the budgets in February, coming on the 1st of February, everything, we are in a much stronger position to deal with this. Now, China, see, geopolitics is something we might make China our friend for the next 1 to 2 years only. We have to go with our eyes open. Russia might become our friend. This one might become our friend. Geopolitics is something which is playing out very, very, and I cannot predict. Maybe Sajanar can predict, or Ajay Dua can predict.
Absolutely, which is why I want to get in on that subject. I want to get in Ashok Sajanar in for the last word. That, having China in our corner could be a double-edged sword.
Yes, thank you, Poonam, and sorry for mentioning the wrong name earlier.
Not a
No,
problem,
you're
sir.
very
Go
right.
ahead.
I think when we go in with China, we have to go in with our eyes open. We have it's rapprochement. Two countries, big territories, big population, big economies, big
Yeah.
militaries. It is better that they have a normal, stable relations. But China cannot be a replacement for the United States. United States is not demanding 93,000 square kilometers of my territory, as China is doing. China is supplying 81% of the weaponry to Pakistan and sharing intelligence with it when Pakistan fights India. So, there are very serious structural problems as far as our relations with China are concerned. So
Absolutely.
we have to normalize, we have to stabilize, but it cannot be, as I said earlier also, Poonam, our relationship with the United States is very broad, very vast, and very deep. And we have to retain it. Mr. Trump is going to be there for 3.5 years. I'm sure that the huge convergence of interest between the two countries will kick in very soon, even when Mr. Trump is there. As far as Russia is concerned, Russia, we have to make sure in the area of defense, because we are dependent hugely on defense on Russia, but we are increasing our self-reliance, our Atmanirbharta in this. But otherwise, in terms of having good trade relations, because it's not a very significant trading partner. We just export
Which
about
is why
$8 billion.
replacing the United States may not be as easy as we'd want it to be, or realistic as we'd want it to be. So we have to find a way around these tariffs that are going to kick in tomorrow. How India deals with it, we'll find out in a few months from now. But I have to leave it there. I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on Plain Speak. Shifting our focus to what's been transpiring in the temple town of Dharmasthala in Karnataka. It's embroiled in controversy after a former caretaker, a sanitation worker, Chinnaya, walked into a police station over 50 days ago. He claimed he was forced to bury and cremate the bodies of close to 100 women, several of them minors between 1990s and mid-2010s. An SIT was then formed based on that complaint. Ground-penetrating radar was used. Several locations were searched by this SIT team with FSL teams in tow, but there was no evidence that was found to substantiate the claims that he was making. That led to the arrest of the so-called whistleblower. Now, Chinnaya's family has alleged that there's a larger conspiracy at play, claiming that he was influenced by someone to make the claims that he was making. The scope of the probe is also now widening. Activist Mahesh Shetty's house was raided by the SID today. Another activist was booked for obstructing the police from performing their duty. So who exactly are these plotters, this mass burial hoax that we saw in the temple town? Where is this conspiracy leading to, and are the main plotters yet to be unmasked?
ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರನಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ತುಂಬ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯವರು ಸರ್ ಅವರು. ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆನೂ ಅವರು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯವರಂತೆ
धर्मस्थल मामले में जो कंप्लेनेंट बयान देते हैं, वो कंप्लेनेंट का बैकग्राउंड क्या है, इसके बारे में कभी शायद चिंता नहीं किया है.
ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಮಟ್ಟನೇ ಯಾವ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಹೇಳಿ? ಆರ್ ಅಶೋಕರ್ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಮಟ್ಟಣ್ಣನ ತಿಮ್ಮಾ ರೋಡಿನ ಬೇಕಂತ ಒಂದು BJP ಪಾರ್ಟ್ 2
Let's open this up. Vijay Prasad, spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP, is with us. Political analyst Syed Asad Abbas is with us as well. Vijay Prasad, let me ask you. The Congress today says that the two people that seem to be now under the lens of the SIT are Hindu activists. They seem to be thinking that these are the BJP's B team that was all along out to malign the image of this temple and of Dharmasthala in itself.
No, Poonam, very good evening. See, this Dharmasthala drama was not a spontaneous. It is carefully scripted conspiracy drafted and curated in Delhi at 10 Janpath. Each player in this episode acted according to pre-written script designed to malign the sacred Hindu shrine and to disturb the faith of crores of devotees. Instead of Congress government stopping this controversy at the very first stage, the Congress government in Karnataka became an active participant in the whole drama. Okay, the complainant who carried a skull was never interrogated, but the government allowed the temple town to be dug up, turning it into a stage of turning the entire Dharmasthala into a stage for the leftist propaganda. The agenda was very clear, Poonam, here: hurt the Hindu sentiments, weaken our religious institutions, and play vote bank politics. If you see the entire episode, it is carefully drafted. The script was written in Delhi. Failure to protect the Dharmasthala, leftist propaganda given a platform, hurting Hindu sentiments was the core agenda. See, the entire episode shows Congress' willingness to play with the faith of the political for the faith of the political gain. Crores of Hindu devotees were emotionally wounded. See, if you see the pattern of Hindu actions, this is not the first time Congress has sided with the Hindus, Hindu beliefs, be it in Delhi or Karnataka. Their politics is directed by the anti-Hindu script.
But then why is it that we are looking at these two activists who are now under the scan?
Can I answer that? Could I please answer that?
I'll come to you. I'll come to you, Swadeshi Abbas.
See, Hindu activist means they don't belong to. That does not mean they belong to. BJP.
One of them had links with the BJP in the past, and the other with the RSS. Is the allegation the Congress makes?
See, we should not live in the past, Poonam. Here, these two are the puppets in the hands of the Congress. These two, whether it is Girish Mattananavar or whether it is Mahesh Shetty Timurodi, these are the two pawns of the Congress. And there is speculation that these two traveled to Delhi to meet a bigger leader within the Congress in Delhi. See, that means to say, see, the Congress is trying to wriggle out of this whole episode, and their main intention is to malign Dharmasthala. See, we all know, Poonam, Dharmasthala has got 800 years of history, and it is a beacon of faith and service. See, without any caste and creed, feeding to lack of devotees takes place, providing healthcare, education, and microfinance. And today, for standing with the Hindus and their devotees, today Dharmasthala is being punished.
Sure, but even the Congress says that exactly what they want to do, that they want to unmask this entire conspiracy. But Swadeshi Abbas, as far as this SIT goes, is it to say that, to say the very least, it is embarrassing for the state government because they formed this SIT. The SIT was investigating the claims made by one person, and a month later, that same person is being arrested for conspiracy. Why were there no background checks that were made?
I believe that the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson here is not aware of how the law and order functions. This person who came in as a whistleblower, he contacted Sir, can I complete my point? I did not
let's not interrupt each other. He didn't interrupt you. Let him make his point. I'll give you your time to rebut.
Firstly, the complainant.
Mr. Prasad, let him finish, please. Mr. Prasad, let him finish, please.
The complainant under oath made the statement to the magistrate. Only then the SIT was constituted. It's very easy for my friend of the BJP to put the blame on the Congress party, but respected sir, almost every journalist true to its blood on the mainstream media, social media, YouTube, stringers, independent journalists, hundreds and thousands of journalists, media houses spoke about this issue. Therefore, I believe as a political analyst, it was sacrosanct for the Congress party to take action. Had they not taken action, my same friends of the BJP would come out and say, oh, who is the Siddaramaiah and Congress government trying to shield? What is the Siddaramaiah government trying to support whom? Are they trying to shield the criminals? So on and so forth. The fact of the matter, now that the Bharatiya Janata Party says that the Congress party here in Karnataka is anti-Hindu, the same people of the BJP, I'd like to ask you, sir, I am from Karnataka, I am Mannanamakka, son of the soil, and I ask you, sir, when 3 weeks back, when this controversy erupted, why were you so silent, sir? Your silence was deafening to my ears. Your fingers were on the lips. You didn't say anything. If Dharmasthala really meant to you, if you as a Hindu really meant to you, you'd have raised your voice then, not now. Also, the bigger controversy here is we need to understand that the special investigation team probe led by the chief Pranab Mohanty, thanks to the Congress government, doodh ka doodh aur pani ka pani ho gaya. We all know now the truth. The fact is, the same BJP party which says Congress is anti-Hindu, sir, are you even aware? Hindus voted for Congress party majority, 136 out of 224 were won. Vakaligas, Lingayats, Kurubas, Hindus, everyone together voted. And BJP was defeated from here, sir.
What is it got to do with what happens electorally, Syed Abbas? But finish your point. 30 seconds, yes, finish your
30
point.
seconds. Thank you, Poonamji. The fact we need to understand that BJP time and again painting Congress party as anti-Hindu is absolutely wrong. The Hindus of Karnataka are smart, intelligent voters. And if Congress was anti-Hindu, they won't get this majority. Not just that, even in the recently held by-elections, it was the Congress party won 3 and BJP
but
got
in this
0.
particular case, and a blanket overall allegation that the BJP seems to be making as far as the Congress is concerned, they're two very different aspects, isn't it? But Mr. Prasad, you had a rebuttal to make. Go ahead.
See, Poonam, even I am also Mandinabaga, son of the soil. And I have been born and brought up in Karnataka. I have been seeing Dharmasthala for many years. Okay. See, having said that, the entire episode for 1 month, a masked man took the control of the government. He took the entire state machinery for a ride, including the SIT, including Pranab Mohanty. Okay. Today, now he comes out and says that I have sold myself for a price of 2 lakh rupees. So who is the conspirators behind all this episode? Who is controlling Timarodi? Who is controlling Girish Matanavar? Who is controlling this masked man? Who is controlling this Sujata Bhatt? See, these are the propagandists. These are the leftist agenda who wants to tarnish the image of the Dharmasthala. Okay. See, there is a clear clarity on this. There is a relentless hit job in the Congress toolkit operation. It is speculated that the mastermind is none other than a close confidant of Rahul Gandhi. With his knowledge of Dakshina Kannada and social fabric,
what proof does the BJP have to substantiate that?
There is a speculation. See,
Can I counter that?
The speculation, Mr. Prasad, is also that these two that are now under lens are related to the BJP and the RSS in the past.
Poonam, the whole episode is managed by
I'd like to rebut this,
Congress and the top echelons within the Congress. So and here in Karnataka, Siddaramaiah is driving the whole episode. We know. See, my friend Syed Abbas was talking about BJP is always Congress is not anti-Hindu. See, what I would like to say here is that I will quote only 2 episodes here. See, there was a Pakistan Zindabad slogans in Karnataka. Congress did nothing. DK's brothers.
Okay, let's not digress, Mr. Prasad. Let's not digress, Mr. Prasad. Let's stick to the subject at hand, which is what's transpired in Dharmasthala. I have very limited time. Let's not digress from the subject at hand. Syed Abbas, yes, you had a rebuttal to make.
Yes, Poonamji, let us understand, how in their wildest imagination, the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson comes up and directly links it to Rahul Gandhi. What does Rahul Gandhi even have to do with this? The fact you need to understand, go back to the roots of Mahesh, go back to the roots of the activist Girish. You will understand, even till recent times, you will see them hobnobbing with BJP leaders, RSS leaders, so on and so forth. Therefore, they are being
drilled. But why were these antecedents of this so-called whistleblower then not looked at? This entire exercise of 1 month, the entire state machinery, these resources could have been saved.
The whistleblower did not come first to the police. He sent in 2 lawyers. After the questioning of the lawyers, and then there was a huge media build-up which took place. Only then, magistrate took whistleblower under oath. He made all the statements under oath. Therefore, if you are blaming the Congress party, let us blame all the media houses, including CNN News 18, who carried several stories on the mass burials. Let us say that many of us are responsible to
But a news channel reporting a alleged complaint being made, and a state government driving an entire machinery to investigate it is quite different, wouldn't you agree?
Also, absolutely, I concede to the point. But also, let us understand. Let us allow the special investigation to function independently with all their freedom, so that they could present the final report. There is no interim report. There is no final report, and we see our friends of the BJP jumping and Congress bashing. Please, sir, allow the police, the law and order of the state to please function without your politicizing this matter time and again. And I really question the timing of the BJP for coming in now, for making the hullabaloo now.
We have been
Back
there.
then when it happened, you're all
right from the
quiet.
beginning, supporting the Dharmasthala and the Hindu side. See, Poonam, see, I would like to remind my friend Syed Abbas. See, a couple of days back, DK Shivakumar came and told that the whole episode is an empty trunk. I know who is the conspirators, who is behind this. And it is the DCM who told in front of the media. And even CNN has covered this one. And even today, the Congress is not coming out in open and telling openly, the government is not transparent and saying that who is behind these conspirators, who is funding them. When DK Shivakumar come and says it is an empty trunk, what does he mean? And he says,
and the truth does need to come out. Now, the SIT investigation will continue. It clearly has widened its scope and is looking at other aspects of who may be involved and what their motive is. But the truth does have to come out. When that happens, we'll have to wait and watch out for. But I leave it there. I thank you both gentlemen for joining us here on Plain Speak. Shifting focus now to the tragedy that is being witnessed in at least two northern states, that's of Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh. In Doda, in fact, sudden floods have swept away 10 to 15 houses. This was because of a cloudburst that triggered landslides. At least 3 lives have been lost in the last 24 hours. There are several pedestrian bridges that have collapsed. Residential areas now lie in ruins. Rescue and relief work is on currently, and it's on in full swing. The Vaishno Devi pilgrimage has been suspended meanwhile. There's relentless rainfall. Roads and train services are severely disrupted as well. In fact, phone and internet services were also down in Jammu and Kashmir. Major rivers, Tavi and Ravi, are flowing above the danger mark. In fact, in Kathua, the river overflowed in many of these places. There was flooding of several low-lying areas. Several people had to be evacuated from their residences. This was the situation as far as Jammu is concerned. The scenes were equally bad in Himachal Pradesh as well, another Himalayan state which has seen the havoc that monsoons have wreaked in the last 3 months or so. My colleagues have been getting us these reports from on ground. Take a look.
मैं अभी तवी के चौथे पुल पे मौजूद हूं, जहां पे तवी का एक हिस्सा, जो पुल का एक हिस्सा है, ये बह चुका है। आप देख सकते हैं एक स्कॉर्पियो गाड़ी है, एक आल्टो गाड़ी है जो बीच में धंस गई है। और आप देख सकते हैं कि भयावह इस वक्त रूप जो है इस वक्त तवी नदी का बना हुआ है। बहुत ही खतरनाक, यहाँ पे बहुत ही संवेदनशील यहाँ पे माहौल बन चुका है, क्योंकि पहले से ही ये एडवाइजरी थी कि अब जो पानी का जल स्तर है वो ज़्यादा बढ़ेगा। पहाड़ों पे लगातार बरसात हो रही थी, वही जब तवी का जलस्तर जिस तरह से बढ़ा है और उससे ये पुल का एक हिस्सा बह चुका है। जम्मू की लाइफ लाइन कहे जाने वाले इस तवी पुल के बह जाने से जगह जगह जाम लग गए हैं। काफ़ी मुश्किलें लोगों को आ रही हैं। NDRF, SDRF, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस, पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस के जवान तैनात कर दिए गए हैं। यहाँ पे आम लोगों को कहा गया है कि यहाँ पे आप ना आए, क्योंकि यहाँ पे आना खतरे से खाली नहीं है। लेकिन लोग जो हैं यहाँ पे पहुँच रहे हैं देखने के लिए, लेकिन ऐसे में ये साफ जो है इस वक्त लोगों से आह्वान किया गया है प्रशासन की तरफ से, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस की तरफ से, कि आप तवी के चौथे पुल पे ना आए। यहाँ पे आना आपके लिए ठीक नहीं होगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिक पोल्स भी हैं जो इस वक्त गिरने वाले हैं। और ऐसे में हिदायत यही दी गई है कि आप जो है इस वक्त बच कर रहे। मौसम आने वाले कुछ और घंटों तक ऐसे ही बरसात होती रहेगी और उसके बाद आने वाले 29 अगस्त तक ये इम्कान है कि इसी तरह बरसात होती रहेगी, जिससे कि काफ़ी नुकसान लोगों का हो सकता है। और यही वो पुल है, मेरे वीडियो दिखाएंगे किस तरह से इस वक्त तवी नदी उफान पे है, नदी नाले उफान पे हैं। ये कहीं ना कहीं ये दिखाता है कि जिस तरह से मौसम की एडवाइजरी दी थी, उसी तरह मौसम यहाँ पे दिखाता हुआ कि किस तरह से यहाँ बरसात के चलते तबाही मची हुई है। जम्मू के हर एक इलाके में इस तरह की तबाही का मंजर देखने में आता है और ये साफ दिखाता है कि कहीं ना कहीं इस वक्त जो निचले इलाके में लोग रहते हैं उनको बहुत ही एहतियात रखना होगा।
देखिए, बेहद ज्यादा तबाही का मंजर यहाँ पर देखने को मिल रहा है। लोगों का काफी ज्यादा नुकसान हो चुका है। यहाँ तक कि जो नए शोरूम थे फ्रिज टीवी के, वो शोरूम से फ्रिज टीवी भी जो गोदाम थे वो बहते हुए ताश के पत्तों की तरह नजर आए हैं। तस्वीरों में पहले आपको दिखाने की कोशिश करें, विशाल आप दिखाने की कोशिश करो कि वो देखिए आप, ये गोदाम था यहाँ पर, तवी नदी के नजदीक था। यहाँ पर शमशान घाट था, एक मंदिर था शिव का, वो भी बह गया है और शमशान घाट भी पूरी तरह से क्षतिग्रस्त हो गया। फ्रिज टीवी और ये ढेर जो आपको दिख रहे हैं, ये गोदाम से फ्रिज, कूलर, एसी, ये सारे जो है वो ताश के पत्तों की तरह बाढ़ में तब्दील हो गए, बाढ़ में बहने लगे हैं। साथ में 2 मंजिला घर है और वो भी पूरी तरह से डूब चुका है। तस्वीरों में आपको दिखाने, लेकिन जिन लोगों का बेहद ज्यादा नुकसान यहाँ पर हुआ है वो लोग हमारे साथ मौजूद है। आपका क्या घर डूब गया?
हमारा घर अंदर डूब गया, हमारा सामान वगैरह बह गया पानी में।
तो पहले ही कोई इंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं थी कि आप सही जगह पे चले जाएं, क्योंकि पहले ही पता था कि क्लाउड बर्स्ट या बारिश हो सकती है।
हमारे मोहल्ले वाला पूरा खाली हो गया, वो कह रहे हैं पानी आने वाला, जल्दी खाली कर लो, बच्चों को लेके। तो हम घर पे खाली कर दिया, सामान वगैरह बह गया, सारा घर डूब गया हमारा।
लेकिन यहाँ पर सब कुछ इनका बह गया है। भाई साहब, आपका भी बहुत नुकसान हुआ है।
गाड़ी थी, बर्तनों की गाड़ी थी,
बर्तनों की पूरी गाड़ी बह गई।
2 गाड़ी।
क्या वो तवी में बह गई पूरी?
नहीं, तवी में जा रही है मैडम, क्या करें, इधर हमने रस्सों से बांध दिया तब भी गई वो।
तब पर प्रशासन ने बार-बार ये आम लोगों से अपील की थी कि वो इस जगह पे ना रहे, वो सुरक्षित जगह पे चले जाएं, क्योंकि ये जो इलाका है पूरी तरीके से ये इलाका पानी में डूब सकता था। ऐसा मौसम विभाग को पूरी जानकारी थी, बावजूद इसके भी लोगों ने उनकी बात नहीं मानी और ये मंजर देखने को मिला। नदी सूर्यपुत्री अपने पूरे उफान पर है और वो उफान साफ तौर पर नजर आ रहा है। हमने इसी उफान में कई गाड़ियां, कई पानी की टंकियां, कई लोगों के घर, आइसक्रीम की रेहड़ियां, काफी कुछ हमने यहाँ पर डूबते हुए देखा है। जो सामने नदी का उफान है वो तस्वीरें जरूर विशाल आप दिखाने की कोशिश करें कि वो जो एक तेज नदी का उफान है उसका पानी लगातार, ये जम्मू शहर का गुज्जर नगर इलाका है और यहाँ पर शमशान घाट था, यहाँ पर मंदिर था, सब कुछ पूरी तरीके से जो है वो बह गया।
That's all we could pack in for you in this edition of Plain Speak. Thank you so much for watching. We came to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Schneider Electric Smart Home Solutions.
Co-powered by. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Enforcement Directorate heat on Aam Aadmi Party leader